Hello and welcome to the show. My guest today is originally from South Africa and first came to Germany in 2008 due to matters of the heart. Thabo Thindi is a cameraman and filmmaker who now runs his own internet TV channel called Josie TV and lives here in Berlin with his partner and their 1.5-year-old son. Welcome to the show. Tell me, first of all, what started your fascination with film? Was it watching the movies and thinking I'd like to do that, or what was it?
Actually, it was something completely different. I had a so-called cousin who is actually my brother, and he is the person that is always motivated me to do a lot of different things. You know, I looked up to him, so he went into film, so I followed. Otherwise, if he had gone into any other industries, like maybe teaching or a doctor or a policeman, I would have been one of those things, because he influenced me so much, and I always, you know, went up into his footsteps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You said your cousin, but he was your brother.
Yeah, he is my brother. He's my cousin, but he's my brother. You know, it is, you know, because the way we were raised, you know, in the township during the times when I was still young, is that we had, for example, in my streets, that everybody who's old enough to be my mother will be my mother. And everybody who's old enough to be my brother would be my brother. You know, and then if you have somebody who's a cousin, this is too close already as it is. So, you know, now I just use the word cousin, but when we talk, when we meet, there is no such thing as cousin. We are brothers because this relationship is too close. You know?
Well, I want to talk about that a little later, about your childhood and your upbringing. You're also a photographer, though, yeah? And did photography come first? Did that come from your cousin, your brother?
Photography. Actually, this is just one of the other mediums that I just recently adopted. I mean, I've always loved pictures, but I mean, now I do it since, on a very serious note, since about 6-7 years. The idea that it was just, you know, always got fascinated how a picture can tell so much story with no words. Just showing one picture, you know, you can tell a world story. Yeah. You can move the people, you know. You can, I mean, if you make a picture that when a person looks at it can actually almost smell what the atmosphere at the time when you were taking the picture, you know, that's fascinated me a lot. And that's what brought me to that.
Let's show a couple of your pictures. Firstly, this one.
Yeah.
Perhaps the second one, which we'll show in a second, illustrates what you've just said more, but this one is... tell us about this one. Where's this?
This is in Mauer Park here in Berlin. There's a park now. You know, every Sunday there's the market. Yeah. You know, and a lot of people from all walks of life, from different parts of the world, they flock to this
flea market.
Flea market.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, so I'm always fascinated by this, and to look at the picture like that, to see those people who was like, you know, vintage kind of style, and I was like, wow, that's interesting. You know, not only that, but because there's a black and white couple, you know, which is also fascinating for me, and it's a little bit older couple, because where I come from, this was also, it's still, even today, it's still a little bit of something not so usual, not so normal. It's still a little bit peculiar, although it's becoming okay to have a mixed race couple, but it's still something that is still not very common.
This one, though, is my favourite.
Yeah.
Now, we've got to explain this to our audience, really, because I'm trying to think of this. On the left, you've got a sign. This is a beggar on the streets here, if you like, and on the left, he's got a sign asking for money for beer. Mm-hmm. And then you tell us. Yeah. The next one's for, it says wine there, which is wine.
For beer, you know, and here it says, zumindest sind wir ehrlich. That means at least we are honest.
Yeah.
You know, and the other one I cannot really see now, for the cat.
No, the next one's for whiskey.
For whiskey, and then the
next one's for the Carter, which is the hangover.
Oh, Carter,
which is the hangover.
Carter, yes.
And interestingly enough, In the middle, it says photos, €278. So was that a costly photo you took, or did you get away with it?
That's a very expensive photo that I made. I mean, I kind of got away with it because, you know, I spoke to them. I sat there for a couple of minutes, maybe 20 minutes, and had a little chat, a couple of beers, and talked about who he is, where he comes from. Because, I mean, for me, this is what is most interesting. It's to actually understand, you know, how those people are sitting there, you know, and just so that, you know, I know what story I'm trying to tell to the people. Is
that what you also like to do, filmmaking? Because I mentioned in the introduction you have your own internet TV channel.
Yeah. Yes, I mean, you know, film, for me, I see myself not so much as a filmmaker or as a photographer. You know, I see myself much more as a person who tells stories and who brings out questions. You know, who questions things. You know, and this is my role. I just use those mediums to support this kind of anxiety, because I'm very much interested in human stories. I'm very much interested in everyday life, the dynamics between humans. Yeah. You know, and so those disciplines, they just you know, accommodate my vision of storytelling. Yeah. And that's partly why I'm also in the film.
Okay, now often we give our guests sometimes a camera and ask them to make us a film, but you've got your own camera and you've made a number of films, especially for us. We'll roll the first one yet, but it's about a particular district in Berlin around Cottbusser. I mean, do you want to say any more before or shall we just roll the film?
Roll the film.
Okay, roll the film.
Fasten your seatbelt, we're about to go. Fasten your seatbelt, we're about to go. Fasten your mind belt, we're about to blow. First World meets Junkie, let's go, baby. Cottbusser Tor. It's one of the most buzzing corners of Berlin. Adrenaline rush of Berlin, you know. Here you meet all sort of junkies, from cocaine addicts, you know, crack addicts, alcoholics, you name it. Somehow very calm and minding their own business. You know, the junkiest of the junkies. I spend a lot of time speaking to these guys here, just to understand who they are, where they're from, how their day is like, you know, and that actually makes them happy when somebody just comes genuinely and you just sit there with them, you know, without judging them, without questioning them, you know, and just have a little normal conversation as humans, because after all, they are also humans. They are always a little bit skeptical with people with cameras, though. But I manage my way around them. I speak to them, I sit there, I share a beer with them. Sometimes I get the story, sometimes I don't, you know. But that's just how it is. And you know, that's where I get my inspiration, because this is real life, you know. This is no pretense. I mean, people here are for real. I come here, I take the pictures of the guys, I exchange with the souls of the city. The street is my university. I live on the streets, you know. I mean, this is where you really get to understand life. That's where you really are in life, you know. This is my office. The street is my office. You know, I do my work here. I live on the streets. I'm a street father. That's what it is. Cool.
Thabo Thindi's my guest. Obviously, somebody filming you there, but you studied to be a cameraman. You're a professional cameraman, but I believe you couldn't get a job as a cameraman when you came here to Germany.
Yeah, when I came to Germany in 2008, I mean, first of all, the idea was just to come here and then go back to South Africa after 3 months or so. But then I stayed, you know, and I tried to get into the industry, but I always got, you know, that I couldn't speak the language to start with. So there was always an excuse not to give me a job, you know, and then also it became, when I could speak a little bit of German, so it became always a case of, I don't really know. I mean, people didn't really quite trust that I could do what I said I could do. You know, even though I showed them my showreel, sometimes, you know, there were questions. Is that your showreel? You sure? I mean, how can I show a showreel and still a person asking me if I was sure? So, yeah, and then I decided, okay, well, I'm living here. I have to find ways. I have to make means to live, you know? Mm. And so I did what I like, you know? I mean, I like to tell stories through these mediums, through filmmaking. So I started Josie.tv.
Okay.
Yeah.
I also didn't mention in the introduction, and I saw a little bit of it there, that you're a poet as well. And when did you start writing poetry?
Yeah, poetry, it's always been something that has always been with me. You know, I mean, we studied poetry, for example, when we were still in primary school. We studied poetry right there and then. And, but you know, it's kind of left my mind for quite some time. And I didn't really see it as poetry in the beginning when I started to write it, but I just saw it as a kind of a therapy for me to take things out that otherwise I wouldn't be able to tell people or to say to anybody that were bothering me and they were inside me. So I thought, okay, well, this is the idea, is just to write them down, put them somewhere, and one day somebody will see them and will understand how I felt at this particular time, you know, in life and all this kind of things. So that's how it came about.
Do you feel like a bit of therapy now? In that we're going to show a film in a minute which mixes your poetry and film together, done by you. But spontaneously, would you give us an example of your poetry?
Yes, I am an angry man, and I have a story to share. A journey of an unlucky man. When I travel and I travel and I travel and I dribble around the world with no particular mental destination, when I'm met with minds more dangerous than Hitler's administration, when I'm threatened beyond gas chambers because of the color of my skin and the puke flows to my lips, and I ask with no fear in my ancestral spirit, what makes you black?
Cool. Brilliant.
Just a little snippet from
No, thank you.
I mean, this is to express what I feel, you know, at this time. And at this time when I wrote it, there was nobody for me to tell and exchange, you know, my emotions. So that's why I put it down, you know, write it somewhere, and with the hope that somebody will come around it at some point and will understand, you know, me, and we'll put puzzles together at some point. So that's the idea, really.
Now, you said you first came to Germany in 2008. You came in a bit of a hurry, didn't you?
Yes.
Tell us about this was first time outside Africa.
This was the first time out of Africa. I had been out of South Africa before then, but never out of Africa. So it was also the first time coming to Europe. And with in a rush, yes, and also very excited because I was coming to become a father for the first time in my life, you know, and
we should just show her at the same time. Go on.
That's my little daughter. I think this is now when she was about a year and something months old in the North Rhine-Westphalen.
So your first time in Europe was to North Rhine-Westphalia?
My first time in Europe was to North Rhine-Westphalen, to a very small, tiny village, if I may call it that, called Hoxter, which nobody knew. I mean, I had a lot of German friends back in South Africa, and I always tell them, hey, I'm going to Germany now, I'm going to Hoxter. And they're like, where is that? And I went to Hoxter, and I was walking around in the streets, and suddenly there were people on the windows looking, especially old people looking in the windows. Hey, what is that? There's a black guy going up and down in our little neighborhood who's, you know, with a curiosity. But
were you well received? Did you have a problem?
Actually, I didn't have a problem. I mean, I lived with the family of my girlfriend, and it was very nice. They were very lovely people. They were quite supportive. And, you know, but in the streets, it is just that it was so difficult for me to communicate with people. So, you know, and I'm the person who's always communicating. I'm very talkative. I like to talk to people. I like this exchange. But it was very hard because I couldn't speak the language, and people did not have the guts to approach me and talk to me, you know. So actually, I spent a lot of time at the bookstore. You know, the only people that I knew there were people in the bookstore, and they knew my name because I ordered a book almost every week because that's the only thing I could do, just sit and read.
Yeah?
You know? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I'd sit and read and raise my daughter.
And did you learn German?
I learned German. I tried to pick up some German. It took me a very long time, though, because the idea also was that I wasn't going to stay. So I was just, you know, on a transit, so to say. And after some time, I realized, okay, it might be a very long time till I go back home. And so I started to get along, I started to start learning German a little bit there, a little bit there, and thought, okay, because I spoke Afrikaans, I thought, okay, it would be easier, but these are two different languages, and German is not a very easy language to learn.
No.
So I had to go to school for this, and learn.
But you've obviously come to love Germany, especially Berlin. Berlin seems to be your kind of town. We'll leave it there for now. Let's combine your talents and hear your personal poetic ovation to your adopted city here, Berlin.
Berlin, mein Schatz, warrior child, born of man without a womb, victim of human insanity, survived incarcerations but still hold your head high, mother of battle walls, ripped apart like amoeba, you came back intact, kissed death and came back stronger. Berlin, Berlin, I salute you. I salute your invite. You have welcomed me with warm hands, fair heart, undoubtful thoughts, open-mindedness, and everlasting brave soul. You are my art teacher my school never had, my daughter that gives me strength, my grandmother that never lost hope, my no-nonsense mother-in-law to be, my inspiring mother, my motivating girlfriend, my dream mate, my queen amongst kings. Berlin, I salute you. Words are right can never express my greatest gratitude. Blessed in the name of Most High, blessed in the name of Joe Rastafari, blessed in the name of Allah, blessed in the name of Prophet Muhammad, God be upon him, blessed in the name of God, blessed in the name of Jesus, blessed in the name of Adonai, blessed in the name of Moses. We are one nation, we are one people, we are one Berlin.
That's a great tribute to Berlin. Your kind of town?
Yeah, Berlin. This is Berlin is actually my wife. I'm married to this city. This marriage, that you cannot really escape away from, and that's why I'm still here even after 5 years of living here. I mean, sometimes I ask myself, am I really stuck here? Or what keeps me here? But I realized, okay, I'm in a marriage with this guy, with this woman that sometimes I'm a bit angry with, sometimes I'm back in love with, so it's this kind of...
Yeah. You put it, actually, I was just looking, you put it down in our questionnaire as top town. We always ask people's top town. You put Berlin with Johannesburg attitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on, tell us.
Because, you see, the city, Berlin, it gives me something that otherwise I lack in Johannesburg. And I would love for Johannesburg to have this, and which is a peace of mind. In Johannesburg, we deal with very petty crime. So you're not able to become that artistic because you are restricted, because you have to deal with a lot of small little things you have to watch out. I mean, in Berlin, I walk with my camera on the streets day and night. It doesn't matter where I go. I can always just go with my camera without any problem. And whereas I cannot do that easily in Johannesburg, So this is why is that, I'm here with this kind of, okay, I have this Johannesburg energy, but I live in this city which is not like Johannesburg in that kind of sense. Johannesburg is a very fast city. Yeah. Berlin, it's fast, but
not dangerous.
It's not dangerous in that sense. I mean, it's dangerous in its own way and its own sense, but it's not dangerous in this kind of petty crimes, danger that we have in Johannesburg.
Now, you spent a lot of your youth in a township near Johannesburg, but you're actually born in a township near Vryburg. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. It's called Huhudi. It is a township of a small little town called Vryburg. And
now this was what interests me. You said Freiberg. That's like the German Freiburg, almost the same.
Yeah,
it's Afrikaans.
It's Afrikaans. It's Afrikaans.
And the name hasn't changed from Afrikaans?
The name hasn't changed. I mean, the name, just like many other things, haven't changed. You know, I mean, the situation. Freiburg, it's also a very, very crazy little town full of crazy stories. Actually, you know, I was thinking the other day that maybe I should go back and live in this. It's a very small town, and I can live there until, I don't know, however old I get, and be able to make a very compelling story from this township. Every day there's a lot of amazing, crazy stories that emerge from that. And then I was born there, and I grew up there. I spent most of my childhood time there.
Yeah, and as you said earlier at the beginning of the program, I mean, your mum brought you up. Your dad wasn't around, I believe.
Yes. I grew up with my mother, a single parent, in this township. You know, I mean, but you know, when I was growing up, also it was not. It has never really been so evident and so clear to me that there was a lack of a father figure in my life. You know, because she played that role. But not only that, but because, you know, as I explained to you earlier, is that we were living in this kind of a family kind of society that
a lot of love,
a lot of love also, and you know, so there were fathers who were my fathers around when I was growing up. So I had a lot of fathers, you know, so that's why it was not a problem. I realized and I knew that, you know, my father was not there, but I didn't miss the father figure, so to say, you know.
You also grew up. You're born in 1980, so you grew up in an interesting time. You must remember apartheid as a kid.
Yes. Actually, I remember just the period when Mandela got released out of jail.
Yeah, you must have been 10.
Yes, I was 10 years old, exactly 10 years old when Mandela got released out of jail. And he actually went to this township, to Hoodie, to visit and deliver a speech there. And I ran next to the Cressida car that he was in, next to the window, for something like 10 kilometers, running around in the townships, you know, till he got to the stadium where he delivered the speech. And at this time, I actually didn't really... I mean, I knew the name Mandela, and I knew that this was a person that everybody wanted out of jail, and that when he comes out of jail, that the black people, so to say, will be liberated from the oppression. But really, at that age, I also didn't really understand very, very much what was going on and what actually that meant.
But you got involved, didn't you, with the fight against apartheid at that age, I believe?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you live in this place, in this time. It is almost like living in a war. You know, during the war, you don't have a choice. You know, it is not like there is any other options, but you just go out of the masses. You know, I mean, there were rallies almost every week. You know, there were protests almost every week because people wanted the change. You know, and their leader were out of jail. So of course now the political parties were also unbanned. You know, because they were all banned and they could not protest and they could not fight for their rights. So this was the time now that people, you know, had the opportunity to kind of say, hey, listen, enough is enough. We want change and we want change now. You know, I mean, it went as far as at one time, I remember we went to the mayor of this little town, Freiburg, Nell, and we put him in his office and we were singing, I think, 3 or 4 days and nights, and he was sitting there and we were singing, dancing, and we call it hotboxing because he was sweating so much that he turned not pink, but this chicken skin kind of thing, you know.
Oh, yeah.
From the sweat of the room, you know, and it was...
And singing for 3 or 4 days?
Singing for 3 or 4 days because we had a memorandum and we said, hey, listen, there were demands that were made for him and, you know, he wouldn't adhere to those demands. Yeah. You know, and people were saying,
Yeah, I know there was a lot of violence at that time, obviously, because Mandela came out and it was 4 years till he got elected and there were so many expectations. I want to ask you about your T-shirt, actually.
Yeah, Exile Faces.
Because it has a connection. Exile Faces is your latest project, which has to do, is a connection here, isn't it, with South Africa and the former communist East Germany.
Yeah, Exile Faces it's a project that I embarked on since 2011, and this is also from the fascination of trying to understand why, because I met quite a number of these people that I've interviewed, and I wanted to understand why are they still doing here even after the collapse of apartheid, and I wanted to understand their reason for coming here, you know, and that's how the project actually started. That's why the project emerged, because when I was back in South Africa, I knew there were people who went on to exile to fight for the liberation of South Africa, but I didn't really know, because this was not part of our history. In school, I learned about Jan van Riebeeck being the first person to discover the sea road to India and blah, blah, blah. But we never really learned our history. And I wanted to know this history of our people, you know, and also to show and share it with the world at large, you know, how far we've come, and that we actually liberated ourselves to start with. And so I started to embark on this project, and this is about the people who left South Africa during the apartheid and still continue to live in Germany. So it's their story, their journey from there to here, and still here after the collapse of apartheid, you know, still in exile, exiles after exile.
OK, let's have a look, a quick look at some of the people you've been talking about.
The moment my children were born, the first thing that was a problem for the German authorities here was the names.
I was 7 years old. That was the first contact with politics. It was the demolition of Lady Selborne, where I was born.
I was born in South Africa, in the city of Durban.
I come from Johannesburg.
We grew up in Alexandra Township.
I went to Zimasa Primary School.
I'm a Cape Townian born in retreat.
I'm the only one alive now in my family.
I left South Africa in 1963, and ever since I've never gone back to South Africa. It's time that we got back to where we came from.
My guest is Thabo Thindi, who made that film. Well, that's just a clip of a lot of the interviews, isn't it? One of the guys there was quite a famous activist, Eric Singh. In the longer interview you did with him, he was very critical about the ANC today, saying it's been overtaken by greed. Would you agree with that?
You know, what is happened is that a lot of people were very, very disappointed about, you know, what is happening now, because they were fighting and they had certain expectations. I think we just thought, okay, after the collapse of apartheid, everything will be super, everything will be nice, you know. So we were very naive, but and it's a pain for a lot of people that feel betrayed, because they contributed, they sacrificed their lives for the struggle, for the liberation of the people of South Africa, and only few people who they have elected to represent them, you know, especially within the ANC, have gone astray. They have betrayed those ideals, you know. So to a large extent, I am a bit disappointed, so to say, you know. But I also understand that there are challenges, you know, and we are trying to overcome those challenges, and the ANC is also trying to overcome those challenges. There has been a lot of changes that emerged, or that improvements in the lives of the black people in South Africa. There's no doubt about that. But there can be more.
Yeah,
for sure.
Now, we were talking earlier about you having lots of fathers, but not your real father. But I know you're a very concerned father because of this, aren't you? You're a dad to 2 children. And you treasure this, and we've shown a picture of your daughter, so we must show a picture of your son and your partner. It's a very special picture. Tell us about this picture. It's a really interesting picture.
Yeah, this picture, it's you know, my life before. This is in the 1800s,
Yeah,
I lived
when you
there.
sent it to us, it said 1879.
1879, yeah. It's also one of the new form of photography that I'm very much interested in, and I'm trying to get into it. This is embroid, embrotype. It's it's printed on a metal. So old school where you put a little cloth over your head and you go underneath the camera like that, and so not digital. Like this is like the large format camera, so to say.
Yeah.
Of the 1800s, and very much interested and very much.
And this is a normal photo, but there's a special person. The reason that's your partner. Actually, where is your partner? Because she is one of a twin.
Yeah, that's the question. She's the one in the middle with the guitar.
Yeah?
Yeah, she likes music quite a lot.
And what sort of music do they play?
They play, I would say, it's a mixture of a couple of different, but so to say, soul, jazz, jazzy, kind of thing. Quite smoothing.
Yeah?
Yeah, quite relaxing also, but with a lot of message. And she writes some songs herself. Yeah. So that's great.
Okay.
To have a person like that.
Yeah, well, both artists, you see, in the family. That's nice. Now, your daughter, you told us just before we came on, just started school, and I want to ask you about this because a very special start to school here called an Einschulung, which is very inside Germany. If we can explain what happens to when they start school here.
Einschulung, it's before the children go to school, there is some kind of a meeting where they come and they are being introduced to the school, they are being welcomed to the school, they receive presents in this big cone with a lot of sweets in it, some school stuff, just to get them excited, into looking forward to go into school. This is a very peculiar culture to me because I just went straight up to school. The first day we were sitting in a line, and I remember even they asked us to recite a poem which they had given to, before you go to school, you will have to learn that poem in order for you to be kind of accepted, and they can see, okay, you are eager to go to school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which now this was different, but I was a bit curious to understand.
Do you remember the poem?
Yeah.
Do you?
The poem that I did in the school. I remember the one that I did when I went to the school after primary.
Yeah.
Se papa tu buela kaya. Ake sona se papa ti sabatu musima no se ema kama to takadu se pala kadinana. And it goes
that's like rapping. It's wonderful.
And we had to, I don't know why, but we had to recite it so fast. It was like very quick. Also because we were, this is the time of corporal punishment. If you didn't know it, then there was a teacher there with a stick, Yeah, and actually from this poem, from missing, I think, one line from this poem, I still have a mark here on my finger here, this little cut. I was hit by the teacher. She hit me here because in winter she made us to put our hands like this, and she was hitting us like that.
Yeah, no, we definitely don't have that here in Germany. The Einschulung, as you write, is much pleasanter. You get this huge cone, like an ice cream cone, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, like an ice cream cone.
Which is well, nice. I think it's great they have a great memory, at least of the start of school. Maybe school gets worse as they go on.
Yeah, there was just one boy who I saw also there. I mean, my daughter, she was very happy, very excited. My daughter is very free. She's on some, she's never easily scared, or threatened or anything like that. Yeah. But there was one boy who was really like, not feeling so comfortable. So I wonder what actually that means to them later on, But
yeah. Well, there's always it's like my hand. You see my hand, this hand is a complete contrast to this color here. I want to ask you about refugees. Now, you're not a refugee here, but I know you're involved in refugee rights here. And there was recently quite a high-profile occupation of a school here in Berlin. I know you were there. And I thought Germany was one of the better countries in Europe for taking in refugees. So what's the problem? That's what I also thought. I thought Germany was a mature country to deal with situations like that. But to my surprise, it is actually not. I mean, the way they treat the refugees, it's quite appalling, actually, to be very honest. I mean, what they are doing now and how they deal with the whole situation of refugee, it is like, okay,
we have to really rethink about, what where Germany stands in terms of that.
Well, let's see a bit more about those protests here in Berlin. We'll talk again about that. Protests about German immigration policy.
Adam Bahar has been on the run for 6 years. Not in Africa, where he comes from, but in Europe. In fact, he has lived in Berlin for the last 20 years. On a public square, he and other refugees are building an art installation with 28 doors, one for each member state in the European Union.
The idea is like there is no all the door is open, if you see also. And then after also we don't put all the door open. Some door can be open, some other doors closed. Because that's what Europe does, like closing some borders.
Adam Bahar is from Sudan. He and about 50 other refugees in Berlin have taken their fate into their own hands. 2 years ago, they began holding sit-ins to protest Europe's immigration policies. They demonstrated in front of Brandenburg Gate, one of Berlin's biggest tourist attractions. This moved the focus on the refugee issue from the EU's outer borders to the heart of the German capital. After negotiations with the authorities, the refugees moved to this square in Berlin's Kreuzberg district, where they pitched tents.
They don't believe our story, why we are coming here. And that's why all the time they try to reject the case, or I get now rejection for my case for 2 months ago. And now I have to appeal to the court to wait. Maybe I wait 1 year, 1 year and a half or less.
The refugees demand the right to choose where they live. But the rule is that a refugee must remain in the first EU country he enters. They tell people what happened to them in a bid to drum up support. Many people in Kreuzberg, which already has a big immigration population, are on their side. Some even post signs reading "Refugees Welcome."
It's not about wanting more. Until now we demand our basic right. For me, it's like moving free. Freedom of movement is basic right for every human being,
But the refugees also face opposition. This summer, the police raided a disused school that refugees had squatted in for months. The squatters had refused to leave voluntarily. The authorities called in the police, and the refugees called in their supporters. Peaceful protest turned into a tense situation that lasted for weeks.
We believe we can change something. After 2 years we are resisting, we change something. But the real change, I think, we come from the people who live here. They have right to vote, they have right to force more the politician to change.
Adam takes part in a discussion group with artists, supporters and even police officers. He and the other refugees are forcing Berliners to think about what a humane refugee policy in Europe really means.
I mean, we saw that film there. What do you think's basically, we haven't got a lot of time, but what do you think's basically wrong with immigration policy then? Because Germany actually takes in more immigrants than any other country.
Yeah, I mean,
but they don't sort it out.
Yeah, it's not enough. I think that's why they take them, just to have this label, that they take more refugees than any other country, that they not just to kind of pet them in the bags, and then what they do with them afterwards, it's questionable. You heard the man say that all they need is just basic human rights, and an image like that actually just reminds me of the apartheid South Africa, exactly, that people are denied, ripped of their complete basic human rights, and this is like in 2014. And this has happened in 2014,
Yeah, OK, yeah, no, it's good you say that. So there's a long way to go, isn't there?
Still a long way to go.
Yeah.
Still a long way to go.
We've got a couple of minutes. Our famous questionnaire, I want to ask you, do you remember what you said what's the most annoying German? The one that always asks where I come from as the first question to start the conversation. That sort of relates to what we just talked about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, because in a way, I think it just tells you that you don't belong and you can never belong here. That question, where you from? This is the first question that most people ask me on the streets. Not even hello. I mean, back at home in South Africa, or I should think anywhere else in the world, people should ask, first of all, hello. Just say hello first, and then maybe how are you? But it doesn't even go that far. How are you? It's just always like, where are you from? Almost suggesting, hey, what are you doing here? Kind of thing, you know? And that's for me, it's a bit of a problem, quite problematic.
Okay. Best thing about living in Germany? Do you remember what you said?
Not quite.
I became free to explore myself.
Okay. Yes. Artistically, I became free to explore myself, which is what I also said that, you know, now, you know, in South Africa, I had a lot of pressure to perform, you know, and so to say, if I might call it that way, you know, to be something, to really, I don't know, to come out of the rebels of apartheid township kind of lifestyle, you know, and really prove myself to be something. But whereas here, I just live, I just enjoy my life. I do what I enjoy.
Yeah.
And that's quite a freedom that I really need.
You obviously love Berlin very much as well. And one final question. You have said, though, it can be a lonely place. I saw you wrote that in another interview.
Yeah,
how come?
Can be a lonely place. It can be also very rough because it's actually kind of deceiving in a way also. You are always outside, you're always surrounded by people, you know, but every time you go home, then sometimes you are on your own going home, you know, because these people are actually not really that connected. These are just people that pass us, you know. They are passing by, and life is too fast for them to wait for you, you know, to wait and you know, when you cry and come back and say, hey, listen, sorry, it will be fine. There's no time for that. And the quicker and the sooner I accept it, the better for me, because then I know what I'm dealing with, you know.
But you'll never be alone because you have 2 children.
Yes. Yeah, it's for at least another, 16, 15 years.
Well, you've always got your children. Thabo Thindi, poet, cameraman, filmmaker, thanks very much for being on Inside Germany today. Thank you for watching. If you're interested to write to us about anything at all to do with the show, the address is insight@dw.de. That's it for this week. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.